Oh, hi there. Dan Amrich, Community Manager for Activision and the guy that runs oneofswords.com. If you have not been there, go check that out. And if you have a question about the way that Activision works that I can answer as the Activision Community Manager, go ahead and send it to YouTube at oneofswords.com, and I will sift through the mail and answer the best ones here, at least anything that I think I can find the answer to. This week's question comes to us from my other monitor, Will Wydeck from South Dakota. Hi, Will. He says, "Hey, Dan." Hey, Will. "I have always wondered, after a final game is coded, what happens? How does it get to me from the devs through disk creations and finally to my local retailer?" Good question, and not too big of a mystery. Actually, it's only a handful of steps that I'm aware of. Generally, what happens when a developer is working on a game, they work and work and work. They have a deadline, an internal deadline that they have to hit, obviously, because they've announced the date that you'll be able to buy it. So you work backwards from there. They have what they call the release candidate, right? That's the version of the game that they feel is 100% complete. It's ready to go out. It's ready to be released. It's their candidate for being released. That release candidate has to be approved by the first party. So if they're making a 360 game, Microsoft gets that copy. If it's PlayStation, Sony. If it's Wii U, it's Nintendo. Whoever it is that owns that has to certify it through their own channel. So they have their own, in addition to all the QA that happened at the publisher and the developer, they have their own team that says, yes, this is worthy or not worthy of being on our system. Obviously, if you're Sony and you own the PlayStation 3, you want the games that come out for PlayStation 3 to look good. You want them to meet spec. They have to run, things like that. And occasionally, when I was in the media, I would hear like, well, this is our RC1, but we're working on RC2 and RC3 now because the publisher did, or the platform owner did find something in certification that they said, we found a bug that you need to address before we will give this an approval. This was obviously a lot more crucial before you could push updates over, over the internet, before we had, broadband connected consoles. But that is the very first step. After the developer is done programming the game, it goes to certification. If it passes certification, then the publisher sends it off to manufacturing. So, there are plants around the world, around the country, where they print CDs, they print the instruction manuals, they print the sleeves, they put them in the cases, they shrink wrap them, they put them in boxes, and boom, off they go. They generally don't necessarily go back to Activision. They sometimes might go directly from the manufacturer off to the retailers because it's easier. Because that's just part of their services. We'll make the games and then we'll also ship them out. So the bigger a game is, the more copies of a game there are, the more likely that process is to be longer. But I would say on average, most games go from RC1 through certification, through manufacturing, and are ready to go to the retailers in about 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, depends. You will find some faster and some less fast, some slower. That's what the word is for less fast. So it's not a complicated process, but it does take time, especially with bigger titles like Call of Duty, where you're shipping literally millions of copies of games and stuff, because that's just the way that it works. But it's not too tricky, and as long as everybody has their say in that process, then it generally goes pretty smoothly. So if you have a question about Activision or the way the game industry works, if it's something that I can answer as the community manager for Activision, I certainly will. Send it to YouTube at oneofswords.com. I will post these videos about every week as my schedule allows. I am very, very busy over at oneofswords.com, so if you are interested in reading blogs, listening to free podcasts, winning free stuff, I just posted another contest today, or if you want to play with me, I do a Playing with Swords community night every Friday night at 6 o'clock Pacific. I switch games and I switch consoles. I am platform agnostic, so I want to play wherever you guys are playing. But that does mean that I have to go sort of like in a rotation. So go to oneofswords.com for all that information and send me your questions. I'd love to answer them on a future episode of One of Swords TV. Thanks for watching.